last half hour of the show. We always do this on Thursdays. Time to bring the man in. We find out what the mug is. We find out what his cup of coffee is. We find out what's going on. And we bring in Niko Moreno. Niko, what is the cup of coffee? And what's the mug? And which cup of coffee are you on, sir?
But the Ray Green mug today, ooh, coming up nice right there. And this is cup number 2, my man. We're trying to get it going, trying to fuel the train here. See if we get moving. I'm like that train just getting started. We're just starting to rotate. So yes, sir. Just happy to be here. Excited that we did well in the juice boxes last week, gentlemen. Yes. I got a little video that I've not been able to put out, but I think we were 4 or 5 in our picks last week. It was pretty good. We hit on Miami. We hit on a couple of draws in Columbus, RSL, as well as LA and Timbers. We even hit on the goals on the LA Galaxy as well. So we did good, guys. We did good.
Yep. And so we will be getting into that as we go here. But as you mentioned, how things were last week in Major League Soccer, let's go with your headlines. What are some of your headlines from the matches from last week? And we'll go through your main thoughts, and then we'll trickle into all the other stuff.
Well, I mean, right off the bat, Montreal just put an upset on Cincinnati. First game at home for Montreal after a 6-game road trip, I believe. They played well. Unfortunately, Kokaro gets hurt, but Joseph Martinez comes in. He puts one in the back of the net. I thought Bryce Duke was fantastic. Brilliant game by Bryce Duke. Great goal by Lassiter. I mean, the way he picks up his head, finds the goal, just strikes it. Cincinnati is in some trouble. That could also be a headline. You know, the offense just needs some help. They didn't properly replace Brandon Vasquez. They got Kubo, that he's just the handyman and just does a little bit of everything for that team. Playing up there, he's not a striker. That's not where you want him. Yes, he scored. I get it. He scored. Yes. That does not mean that he should be up there, people. That's just all I'm saying. The LAFC game was interesting with Portland. I think LAFC, for as much as I had expectations and I had them first in the West, they haven't played like their usual selves. And that was a tough game. We knew that going into it. But I feel like LAFC is going to have to wait for their big French man to come in and do some wonders up top, because they definitely have had some problems finishing in front of goal. I know that Cherundolo was ripping his hair out there at the last play of the game because he didn't see a foul. The foul gets called. Tillman puts it in the back of the net. That could have been the game winner. So that was interesting. In other big headlines for last week, I think that's about everything that really stood out. I guess we could go with Charlotte, getting a big win, playing some direct ball at home, fantastic atmosphere. They're an intriguing team. I like Vargas. I like some of the things they're doing. Copetti, I thought he had a pretty decent game, but a lot of people expect him to not be here in the summer. So how is that going to play out with, maybe he places himself into the conversation to a new coach. So I think Charlotte's been interesting as well. Maybe a little bit of a surprise for me, for sure.
Let's talk LAFC for a second.
All right.
And LAFC, honestly, if you want to go all the way back to CONCACAF last year, I don't know what it was, but coming out of that tournament, it seems like LAFC, in addition to not scoring any goals, or not as many as they've been in a prolific way in years past, where it was just electric and everything's tilted toward a 32-52, and going to BMO is unnerving for folks. Ever since CONCACAF Champions League last year to now, it has been a very different LAFC team. It has been one that is having trouble rolling the engine over. I mean, you turn the key, and there are times when the engine doesn't start, evidenced by this year. And then defensively, you had Chiellini, who is 74 years old, as a marshaling your back line, and it seems like they've been scuffling for almost a full season now, a full calendar year now. It's just that this LAFC team is not the one that we were used to seeing, and it seems like it's a bunch of different reasons, and you can't really put your foot down to stop one, because then if you're putting your foot down on the garden hose to try to stop the water from going out all over the place, then everything builds up and you end up with rips in the hose and the water goes elsewhere. I mean, it's an odd thing to look at. It's like Steve Cherundolo stopped coaching one way coming out of CONCACAF 12 months ago, and now it's entirely different. Am I off here?
No, I think you're right, especially in the style of play. They were a team that used to be more possession-based, more in control. It seems like they play against the ball now. They play more counter play. They allow the other team to have some possession. And I think it's all designed, unfortunately, for those who don't like this sort of soccer. I think that Cherundolo has decided that he's going to be effective. He's going to play counterattacking ball. And I feel like as an organization, they've realized that in MLS, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And all of their big acquisitions and the way they structured the roster kind of goes that route. They got all their young players, they're talented prospects for the future now. And then they're bringing in some big guns in the summer. They're allowing this team to give you what they have, right? And I'm not sure if the whole Carlos Vela rule will eventually come into play and they'll be able to keep some of these big name players. But at the end of the day is the fact that this LAFC squad just feels comfortable not playing brilliant soccer to start of the season and maybe push it out in the second part of the MLS calendar in general. So I think it's all by design. I really don't think they're surprised at all that the team with this short of a roster in terms of numbers of players is kind of struggling a little bit.
And it just seems now that the momentum in Los Angeles has shifted back to LAG, because they're the ones scoring all the goals now. And, when you've got your protein power pack, your P3 of Paintsel, Peck, and Puig,
Yep.
that is there now. It seems like the offensive momentum has shifted back to Carson and has gone away from BMO Field. But, of course, when you drop $19 million on two guys, that better be the way that it's going to be, right?
Absolutely. And another part of that is because two of the guys that were coming into this season with high expectations haven't quite done it. And I'm talking about Dennis Bouanga, who obviously everything he did last season, maybe someone should have thought that it wasn't sustainable and that it was a phenomenal season that he might never be again. And then Oliveira, I thought that he was going to really take a next step forward. He was going to be that guy on the right wing side that was going to be a difference maker and provide you some of the things that Cherundolo needs from those wide players to help out Bogut's playing that false nine type of position. So I think that's part of it. And then on LA Galaxy side, it's just been the opposite. They just hit the lotto on the guys that they brought in, right? And now Ricky, he's doing phenomenal things. He might be the best through ball passer. Oh no, second, because we got Leo now. Yes, in MLS, he could be the second best through ball player in MLS in general. And having those weapons just puts it all together. So what's not working for the LAFC this season, it is working for Galaxy.
When it comes to, yesterday we talked hot seats, and we were trying to figure out, who's in the hot seat. And I know we've only played a quarter of the season, if that, 20% of the season. And we were looking at five guys. And as much as we'd like to have lunch at Five Guys, that was not what we were talking about. It looked like it was five guys on the board that are right now in the crosshairs. And I think that from my perspective, I was looking at guys in a different order than a lot of other folks. Obviously, you're looking at Lucci in San Jose, and this is in no order before we get into specifics. You're looking at Lucci in San Jose. You're looking at Niko Estevez in Dallas. You've got one win on the board in your first 7. San Jose's 1-7 after their first 8, and has, I think, the worst defense right now in Major League Soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're looking at Caleb Porter in New England. You're 1-5-1 after your first 7. You're looking at Nick Cushing, who won recently, so now he's at 8 points, and so he is no longer next to last. He's 12th out of 15. And then Gary Smith in Nashville. Those were the 5. But I had Niko. I mean, I had Estevez kind of toward the front of the line, but I had Lucci toward the back because the owner of San Jose, John Fisher, he's focused on other things right now. He's more focused on Oakland and moving to Sacramento and getting the A's a ballpark and looking forward to Aaron Judge coming by and playing his team in a AAA ballpark. He's got other priorities. He may not be focused on Lucci in San Jose, and it might be just, Lucci, you got what you got till the summer window. Deal with it, handle it, and I got other things I'm focused on. So that was why I didn't have Lucci as my number 1, even though numbers would dictate when you're 1-7, you've only scored 10 in your first 8, and you're giving up 2.5 goals a match. I would think most of the time you'd sit there and go, okay, front of the line. But because of everything else going on with the owner, I think Lucci's further back in the grid.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I would put Lucci at the back of that list. I'm surprised you don't have Josh Wolf in there. And look, I get that he's still there, and there hasn't been a decision made on him, regardless of multiple seasons already not performing at the level that they started when the franchise got into this league. So, in general, I think that in San Jose, the problem is the front office, and we all know this. This is no secret. Ever since Almeida was there, we knew that was the problem, and it didn't matter. It still doesn't matter who's going to be there if there's not going to be resources brought into this team. It's hard to ask anything else of Lucci. Lucci is a fantastic coach, someone that develops player at a great rate, that understands this league. I have nothing but good things to say about Lucci Gonzalez as a coach. And I do believe that the owner understands that he's the issue, and it's hard to ask anything more of Lucci Gonzalez. I think Caleb Porter should be higher there, simply because this could be one of those situations where maybe I realize that I hired the wrong guy for the job, and it's just not fitting in with what I have. And it'd be really hard for me to just decimize this roster and tear it all apart and start from the very beginning, because it's not working. I understand that this team doesn't have the most quality guys, and whoever decided to, in an article, say that they're one of the best teams in MLS should never write that ever again, because this roster is terrible.
Where was this?
Yeah, in the Athletic, somebody said that they were one of the best teams in MLS when they were talking about CCL play. But anyways, this roster is just not great. I mean, it's got some players, it's got some pieces. Yes, I like Chancalay. Yes, we love the Heels, and there are definitely pieces there, but it's just not a full balanced roster. So when the quality, talent, the best players in the team are still not performing at their level, I think that Caleb could be one of those guys that are getting ready to head out the door. And then Niko Estevez just has really regressed, and it's heavily. And look, I understand that there's injuries, and that's part of the reason why he probably has a job. No Velasco, no Ferreira. I mean, I understand that is going to handicap your play, but I feel like there hasn't been enough in finding that identity and wanting to really cement your soccer module. I just don't see it for Niko Estevez.
When you look at the other results from the past weekend, and I mean, you're looking at, I'm sure that if I'm waiting for the moment when Peter Vermes just decides that he's completely and totally just had it with his guys. I mean, we know that Peter is never one to bite his tongue, but I would think that after yet another week where you're having a result that you have in a massive building at Arrowhead, where you had over 60,000 folks, and you're going up against Messi and friends, and Messi and friends are there, and you're all over it. You end up with a 1-0 lead. Eric Tommy has found his scoring shoes. Tommy scores to make it 1-0. Gomez scores to tie it. Messi scores to make it 2-1. Tommy scores again to tie it, and then Suarez 13 minutes later. If I'm Peter Vermes, I'm pulling out what's left of my hair because of the defense that's there, not being able to keep a lead, giving up 3 to Messi and friends in front of 60,000. I'm just waiting for the point when Peter Vermes is just driven totally stark raving bananas over what's going on with his club this year.
I really don't know, man. I have nothing but the utmost respect for a legend as a coach that he is, for U.S. soccer, for MLS in general. I mean, I tip my hat to him. But looking at what some of his comments, his statements after the game, he just seemed complacent with the result. He said several times that his team played well, that there were a couple of mistakes, and even before the game, he talked about with Messi. He kind of praised him a little too much for my liking. Yeah. And even after the game, he seemed like he was just happy to say, hey, you know what? It was messy. And I just don't agree with that sort of mentality. And I don't expect somebody to go out here and disrespect Messi in any way. I just think that's the guy you're playing against. That is the guy that you got to kind of reflect to your players that look, I get Messi, but he's just another guy today. We're going to bother him. We're going to not allow him space. We're going to treat him like anybody else. We're going to make sure that he feels like he's got to work hard for what he's doing. But they just seemed like there was too much respect for Messi in that game, and then afterwards by Peter Vermes, some of the things he said. So maybe he's just comfortable with the way things are, and the team has played better. In some places, I feel like defensively they still have some things to work out, but I just kind of feel like he's complacent. But specifically talking about this game, I just thought that there was too much room given to Lionel Messi, and maybe it's because Patrick Mahomes shook hands with the GOAT and told him to go have fun out there, and Luis Suarez was strolling to the top of the box without somebody tugging on his shirt, pulling him, breathing down his neck. You just saw Monterrey do what they did and give you kind of a blueprint on how you handle these type of players. And Peter Vermes didn't follow that at all. So maybe he's just complacent with the way things are going. So I see him comfortable. After the game, I was with you. Maybe I was thinking, look, he's going to lose his mind. He didn't seem like he was losing his mind. He just seemed like he understood it was Inter Miami and let's move on to the next game. And I just don't think that that's the way. That's not the mentality. That's not the message you want to send to your locker room.
And so we'll see what that message is, because it is that time with Niko Moreno, our friend from Pulso Sports on the Soccer Bar, where we go to play cliffhanger. And we see if Niko can match the prowess that he had with the juice boxes last week. And we will see what Niko thinks about the action this week. All right. So it starts off, I guess they do it alphabetically with the home clubs, the way that it's lit. I finally figured it out after all these years. The website that we use for our reference in the composite, they list the home team. If the kickoff times are the same, the home teams are listed alphabetically. I'm like, oh! So then that means that Atlanta United's the first match we talk about, hosting FC Cincinnati at home. And Atlanta United's a plus 117 on the win. Cincinnati, who lost last time out, as you mentioned, to Montreal, is a plus 211 on the road. Your draw is a plus 257 in the composite. What say you, Niko Moreno?
That's another game that could strike you as, you know what, Atlanta is at home. Cincinnati is coming off of a bad result. I just talked about the struggles for Cincinnati up top, but Atlanta, man, that last game against Philadelphia, they show you a little bit about sometimes they have such a hard time managing games and without some of those star players. I understand in the back and in the front, not the starters that you wanted. No Silva. There was a lot going on there. But I think this game calls for a draw. Cincinnati is going to want to get a result at Atlanta. They're going to feel comfortable by getting a result. They're not going to make it easy for Atlanta to find those spaces behind to get in transition. They're going to overpopulate the midfield. I can see this as a 1-1 draw that maybe Atlanta fans are going to be very upset to see because they want to see this team win. But I feel like that's the result that's going to come out of this one.
We're still waiting to find out what the injury situation is. 5 players were out last week, including Gigi, Jamal, Tiare, Shonde Silva. Derek Williams still going to be out for another couple of weeks. Deion Gregerson, their big center back, was at the practice this week, so we don't know what the situation is. Is Daniel Rios going to start again? Is Yakamaki still going to be dealing with the bone bruise? And Noah Cobb and Luis Abram were a good pairing last week defensively for Atlanta United, but we'll find out what it looks like coming up on discussion on Friday, and then again when the list comes out on Saturday. CF Montreal continues their crush of home matches. They're a slight favorite at home against the Purple team at a plus 152. Crew, big minus. They are a minus 167 hosting the Timbers. Timbers are a plus 409 in the composite. Draws north of plus 300. Speaking of hot seats.
Hold on there for me.
All right.
I was inclined to say there was going to be an upset because I saw that number for Portland and it's pretty high. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to do that. Not at Columbus. I understand that they're objective and their eyes are all focused on CONCACAF for Columbus. Mm-hmm. I understand that Kerpo got a red card and you have a substitute goalkeeper for Timbers. But both of these teams, I think that their XG is pretty good and they create a lot of goal opportunities. So I think there's going to be a good 2-2 game again or something like that. So I'm going to go with the draw just because I feel like the Timbers have enough to make this Columbus team with some rotation uncomfortable. So I'm going to go with a draw on this one and make it one of those eyebrow raisers. But I'm going to go ahead and stick to that draw.
All right. And so since you said 2-2, I will just let you know that if your total is 3.5, over under is a plus 141 dealing with 3.5. So you're on the plus side if you think it's going to be a 2-2, if you say that your total's 3.5.
I like it. I'll take both of those. Yes, sir.
All right. So next one on the board, we mentioned hot seats, and our buddy Dell does as well. Cheapest ticket for anybody to go see Messi and friends, dealing with Inter Miami and Nashville. It is $100 to get in the door to see Messi and friends at their barn in Fort Lauderdale. And Gary Smith on the hot seat, we probably figure as well here in this one. Messi and friends, a big favorite at a minus 222. Draws a plus 363. Gary Smith has said he needs reinforcements in the summer window. Nashville to win is a plus 527.
Ooh. Oh man, I don't even.
That's probably symbolizing Gary Smith being on the hot seat more than anything else. It ain't happening right now.
No, and he's not lying about needing more players and needing some help. I mean that's we got to give Gary that, and I think that the biggest problem is simply that it's been so much of the same for the coach that as an organization you got to ask yourself if we want to change things up, maybe we start there. Yeah. And just results haven't been there. Not even the defensive forte that he's had in the past hasn't quite been there. But this one, I'm not taking even at 600. I'm kidding. Nope. I'm not taking that at all. I just think that even with the Jordi Alba situation and the injury, I thought Franco Negri was a guy that every time he's come in, he's been fantastic. He can do a lot of the Alba-ish things. Diego Gomez had himself a ball. What a game he had against Sporting Kansas City. He's really put that midfield on his back. I know he played the wing in this one, but it doesn't matter where you put him. The effort, the vision, the way he crashes the box, everything about Diego Gomez is fantastic. You put that with Messi, You put that with Busquets. I just think that it's too much talent still for this Nashville team. And what are the numbers for Miami, anyways?
Minus 222.
Yeah, I'm not taking that. But you know what? Miami's going to win that game. And is that going to be what pushes Gary Smith at the door? I don't think so. I think it's going to have to be a little bit more than that for him to go out. I mean, he's held on for dear life. And again, he's not lying about the roster that he has currently. So I think this is not the game that pushes Gary Smith out, but I do see Miami winning that game.
Yep. All right. So next one on the board, NYC, a plus 110. Riding that hot streak, that one win in a row. They're riding a hot streak. They're playing at Citi Field. They're playing DC United. And good for you. You're a plus 110. DC is a plus 2.25. Toronto and the Revs. Toronto's a plus 121 north of the border. Revs are a plus 210, not necessarily a surprise. 8:30 Eastern. Fire and RSL. Fire actually favored at a plus 124. RSL is a plus 200 to win in the composite on the road at Chicago. Draws north of plus 250.
Wow. Really?
Uh-huh.
I'll take me some RSL for at 280. That's pretty good. Chicago, man, they struggle. They are their own worst enemy in so many parts of the field, and they're lacking so much leadership. There's just nothing special about Chicago right now, and you see it game over and game over. It's just there's nothing special about Chicago. When in RSL, I just like there's so many things that can change, and they have a whole bunch of game changers in so many parts of the field that I'll be comfortable taking this one. What's the look on goals for that one?
3.5 is a plus 178. So if you're thinking 2-2 again, you can get that at a plus 178 at 3.5.
No, we'll just take RSL. I think that's good enough for my blood. I think I like it.
Plus 200 for RSL. Copa Tejas, Houston on the minus side, hosting Austin. Minus 145 for the Dynamo. Austin is a plus 378 in the composite. Sporting and all caps. This one is interesting. Sporting Kansas City and St. Louis City. Sporting is a minus 130 at home. St. Louis City on the road is a plus 305 because of absence. Draws north is just about to plus 300 in the composite. So
safest bet here is the draw. I think St. Louis will make things difficult for Kansas City. We know that they're dealing with quite a few absences. I know that Peter Vermees probably wants to go all in and set the tempo early. But this team does do well in counter. So I think the draw there is going to be the safest bet. I definitely wouldn't take Sporting Kansas City in this one. So, yeah, I think we'll go with the draw.
Plus 297. Colorado on the minus side hosting FC Dallas. No real surprise. Late games, LAFC on the minus side at a minus 119 hosting Red Bulls. The matchup I want to talk to you about on the late game on Saturday, Seattle hosting Vancouver in Cascadia. Seattle's a minus 108. Your draw is a plus 257 in the composite. Vancouver to win is a plus 279, considering their position at the top of the Western Conference.
Ooh, man, that's a tough one. The numbers tell you that they really think highly of the Sounders at home. This Vancouver team has been good. I mean, I think that game against the LA Galaxy should have been 3-3, should have been even high in scoring that we saw. White had 3 or 4 chances in front of goal that he should have put away against the LA Galaxy, but he just was unable to. I think Seattle defensively can hold and limit this Vancouver team the same way they handled the best offense in the West, which is the LA Galaxy. I just don't know if they have enough offensively to exploit those holes that this Vancouver team does give out. This week, we spoke to Brian about not going the extra mile, not being more aggressive in Dallas in a game where it seemed like they were the better team. It seemed like they could have got some points against a poor version of the FC Dallas. And he admitted that he was a little conservative and he didn't put Leo Chu because Leo Chu's forte is not defense. And he didn't want to give up the point on the road. And I just think maybe in this one, he's going to have to do the opposite and be more aggressive and play everything he has to just get a win here at home. But I like the draw in this one. I feel like these teams both balance themselves out in terms of what they do well and what they don't. I think it'll be a fun one. It'll be back and forth. I'm not saying it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm just saying that a lot of opportunities are going to be created in this one. And I can see this as a 1-1 game. And I'll take the draw for this game at
plus 257. So
yeah.
plus 257 on the draw. 2 games on Sunday, 6 Eastern, Charlotte on the minus side hosting the Loons, who are a plus 258. And then the Cali Classico, LA Galaxy, San Jose Earthquakes. A lot of shine has been taken off of this one, understandably so. Galaxy a minus 175. Draws a plus 353. San Jose is a plus 384. I think this one could get ugly.
Yeah, no, I don't like none of those. So can you give me that New York Red Bulls one? I know we're going to go back to Saturday, but sure. I'm not taking either one of the Sunday games. I might just watch the Galaxy game because they've been fun to watch, but against San Jose might be a stretch. So let me get that New York Red Bulls game because I'm interested in those numbers.
LAFC minus 119. This is the composite. So basically 119 is your range. Draw plus 264. Red Bulls to win a plus 307.
Give me the Red Bulls. Give me the Red Bulls and mark it on my calendar as the one that you're going to tell me you're crazy. But I feel it right here. I think that the Red Bulls have done a lot of rebuilding in terms of the way they play their offense and the style of play. And they're no longer a team that's just based on pressing and just that Red Bull ball that we used to see in. They've evolved from that. And I think that they can give LAFC some trouble. So the numbers tell you that you shouldn't, but I'm telling you that you should. So let me get the plus 300 on the New York Red Bulls.
All right. So what's going on at Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports, my friend?
All right. We got Soccer Bar here coming up. We're going to hear a little bit more about the Seattle Sounders and what's going on. We spoke to Josh Atencio and JP this week. And beyond the soccer aspect, I feel like this Sounders team needed a little bit more fire, more attitude, a little bit more anger in that second half to close it. There is this terrible challenge by Arriola where he takes out João Paulo. He's standing over him for about a minute, and no one in the Sounders team shoves him off their player, someone that just came in that has been dealing with an injury. And the fact that no one had that in them to just say, hey, back off my dude, really bothered me. So I asked JP about it. I asked Josh Atencio about it. They both agreed that they need to do better in those sort of situations, that could ignite a fire within this team. So check those out at Pulso Sports. We have both of those interviews with both Josh Atencio and JP talking about that, talking about the game against the Whitecaps. And in Soccer Bar, we'll be going about all of these things that we're just talking about, plus some Open Cup stuff. What are some of the chances for Columbus to be the team that finally gets another title in CONCACAF for MLS? So go ahead and check that out in about 40 minutes.
There you go. So as always, at El Rolo NW on the Twitters, the 280 character app, at Sports Pulso, at the Soccer Bar. Thanks as always, my friend, and may your juice boxes continue to behave in a manner that makes your wallet heavy and not light. We will catch up with you again next week, my friend.
I appreciate it, I mean, hopefully I don't lose what I got last week.
No, sir. All right. So Niko's going to go enjoy his second cup of coffee. He's headed to the Soccer Bar. So a Soccer Bar, Pulso Sports Pulso on the 280 character app.